Today we're going to photograph a winter landscape, but indoors. As you can see behind me over here, it's all about building a diorama. Every winter I try to create a couple of photographs that are diorama based. That means I build a diorama and I place a model car, a toy car in the diorama and create a winter landscape out of it. So today is not going to be any different. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dress up the set and place a toy car that I have. I have a couple of ideas for a couple of shots. Okay, so the idea behind today's photograph is a winter landscape with a car that will be on the road, driving on the road within this winter landscape. So this one is going to be a little bit technical because I have to combine continuous lighting with flash. But let me walk you through the diorama first and then we can talk about the lighting setup. So over here, this is the first piece. I have this footbridge. What I did here, I lifted up this bridge on these little pieces of wood because I want to have more space for the car to pass underneath it. And what I've done over here with these little pieces of wood, I created kind of like stairs that would lead the pedestrians up to the bridge. And the same thing on the other side. Okay, so for this diorama, I am using two pieces of foam boards. One is the base that I'm building the diorama on, and the other one just acts as a barrier so I don't see behind it. Okay, so I have to complete the diorama right now. I have to have a couple of more elements. Well, a few more elements actually. I need to add some lights. I want to add street lights on one side and the other of the road. I need to add some pine trees. And then I'm going to add the snow. And the snow is not going to be anything else except flowers. So let's do that. Let's dress up the diorama. I'm using a glue gun because these little lights, they're so light that I need something to just stabilize them on this base over here. So the glue gun is perfect for this. I got the lights in. I still need to put the pine trees and maybe a couple more elements. I see what I have in my Christmas diorama build kit, and if I think they add to the scene, I'm going to place them on. If I think the scene is going to be too loaded, then I'm not going to put them on. So we'll see. I'm just going to add a couple more elements and see what it looks like. So far so good, not too bad. I have the main road all drawn up and all dressed up. I like this contrast between the Christmas trees and the lights. That's why I placed one light, one tree, one light, one tree. Because when I'm going to shoot the photo, I'm going to use a zoom lens. I'm going to go as far as possible. I'm going to zoom in and compress all this scene. I think some lights we're going to see in the frame, some lights we're going to see behind the trees. So I think that's going to add a very realistic effect to the whole scene. You know, I mentioned that I shot this kind of diorama before, so here are a couple of photos that I shot 2 or 3 years ago. So right now I just need to make it snow and then place the car in the setting and then start doing the light setup. Before I make it snow, I need to add batteries for all these lights because once I'm going to make it snow on the diorama, everything's going to be covered in flour, so I cannot do it then. So that's priority number one, put some batteries inside. This is who's going to model for us today. This is Skoda 105L. It's a classic from Eastern Europe. This was built in the former Czechoslovakia. I think these were built about late 70s, beginning of the 80s, and even actually late 80s, beginning of 90s in some parts they were still selling them. I grew up in Romania and I was surrounded by these cars, these Eastern European classics. And in terms of collecting cars, I only collect classics from the ex-Soviet bloc. So this is one car we're going to play with today. And I have another car that actually that one is a Romanian build, is a Dacia 1300. I'm going to show you that one as well. So this is the Dacia 1300. It's based on a Renault 12 chassis and the body. And the Communist Party in Romania at that time, they bought the license to build this car in Romania. I'm only using this because it is red and it contrasts really nicely with the trees I have over here on the diorama. So I'm going to shoot the Skoda first. This one, funny story, I was in Slovakia this summer with my buddy. We went inside a souvenir store and I saw this one, and as soon as I saw it, I said, man, I gotta have this one because I just love my Eastern European classics. So Skoda 105 first, and then the Dacia 1300 for the second photo. Okay, now that the diorama is pretty much done, I'm just gonna have to set up my lighting, and then I'm gonna walk you through my lighting setup. Okay, so this is my lighting setup right here. I placed my speed light on a stand facing down towards the car, and I put this snoot on because I don't want the light to spill all over the diorama. I want a concentrated beam of light on the car alone, and then everything else will be nice and warm from these little lights that I have placed on the diorama in the beginning of the video. So these little lights are going to be the continuous light, and this one is going to be the flash. So that's why I said we're going to have to combine continuous lighting with speed light. So these little lights, continuous lighting, I'm going to turn them on in a second, and then that guy from there. So the theory behind it is I'm going to have the flash going off, illuminating the car, and then I'm going to have a longer exposure so these little lights can have time to register on the camera sensor. So that's the plan. Now all I have to do is turn these little lights on and then figure out my exposures for the camera and also figure out my output for the flash. Now for my camera, I have a Nikon D500 body, the one that I always use for landscape photography. Today I created the landscape inside. So D500, I have the 70-300 zoom lens because I want to compress that background. I want to compress everything in the diorama to make it look nice and cinematic. I have a trigger for the flash, and that's pretty much it. One last thing I need, because this light is very powerful, I need a diffuser to diffuse that light and make it nice and soft. So this is the diffuser I'm going to use. I'm just going to place it like yay on top of the diorama, and then the light is going to shoot through it, and then we're going to have a nice soft light on the car. So a very important setting for the camera, I want an f number that it's very high, so I need a closed down aperture, because the closed down aperture cuts off the ambient light. I don't want any ambient light. I just want those little lights that I placed on and that speed light illuminating the diorama from the top. That's all I want. I don't want any spillage from the lights. Actually, I'm going to turn off some lights because I don't want any lights coming in from the house lights over here. So I'm thinking I'm going to place my f-stop at around f10, f11 and start from there. So let me do that, and then I'm also going to get a proper output for that speed light. Okay, I dialed in my camera settings. Settings wise, I'm at f18, 1 second, and ISO 100. I started off at f11, but I was gathering too much ambient light, so I had to close the aperture even more. And at the same time, I had to dial my shutter speed a bit lower, so the shutter can stay open for a bit more time to gather the tiny lights that I placed on the diorama. So f18, 1 second, ISO 100. And in terms of the speed light, I'm at 1/8 of full power. So those are my settings. Now let's start shooting some beautiful photos. Now, of course, with the house lights on, it is too bright, but I just kept them on so you can see what I'm doing over here. I'm going to take a couple of photos like this, and then I'm going to switch the lights off, and I'm going to take proper photos. So see what I'm doing here, I'm placing this diffuser as low as I can on the diorama, because that way I get a bit more light on the diorama, actually more light on the car. If I would go up here, the whole diorama would be dark, and especially the car would be dark. But if I go as low as possible without getting in the frame, that will give me a nice light on top of the car. Also, another trick I did, I placed the snoot so that the light falls on the front of the car, because I'm low with the camera and I don't really see the back of the car, so I don't need light on that side, but I definitely need some light on the front here so I can light up that dark grille of the car. right now all the house lights are off. I just have these little lights that are lighting the scene very nicely. It's very cozy atmosphere there in the diorama. And now I'm going to have the flash illuminating the car and a very little section of the diorama, and the lights of the diorama will register on the camera sensor. The photos are turning out pretty cool. I just like how it looks with the bridge in the back and the green car. So now I'm gonna turn the car around and we're gonna shoot it from the back as well, pretending that it goes back into the village. Cool, so I switched the car again with the front towards the camera. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to place the camera in an angle, so I shoot the diorama in an angle. So I'm going to shoot the diorama from the top right, so that's going to be another angle. This is just awesome. I just love the contrast between the tiny lights and the speed light that's illuminating the car. Just warm against cold, super nice, super nice. And the photos are just beautiful. So now we're gonna switch to the red car, the Romanian car, and we're gonna take some photos with that. On top of that, what I wanna do for the Dacia, I wanna make it snow on top of the car as well, and then just clean the windshield a little bit. So let me put the Dacia on, and then I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. Right, so now that I covered the car with a little bit of snow, I have to clean the windshield to make it look more realistic. Cool, now that our car's windshield is all cleaned up, let's get some more photos. I think these are gonna look more interesting than the other ones. Alright, that's it for today. I really enjoy making these kind of videos with dioramas. If you want to shoot your own, it's just a matter of balancing the speed light with these tiny lights, the continuous lights. So in my case, it was 1/8 of a power for the speed light, and I left it there throughout the shoot. And then I used a f/18 or f/20 aperture to close down the iris, so I don't get any residual light from the house lights. And I used the longer shutter speed to allow these lights to register on the camera sensor. So that's about it. I hope you liked the video and the photos. I will see you in the next one, and until then, I wish you nothing but peace. Ciao.